Do you want to know which cities are growing their population? Today I'm going to tell you which cities did just that. Today we're going to do it a little bit different. We're going to give you 10, but we're going to give you 5 that grew their percentage the highest and the 5 that grew just in volume, like the total amount of people that moved in. Every year the US Census puts out data on a variety of things. Their primary mission is to track and report the population growth and where they're moving and how much they're making, things like that. They don't just look at the numbers every 10 years and call it good. Just recently, in August of 2022, they released the numbers from 2021. There's some very interesting changes, both in the percentage and the total number of gains. Normally, I would just do cities that gain the most people and call it a day. That sort of leaves out smaller cities. I mean, Los Angeles will always gain more people than, let's say, Torrance, California. So you never hear about Torrance, California when you're talking about population, and it happens to be where I grew up. Side note, last year, Torrance had one of its lowest population gains in its history. I mean, going all the way back to when it was nothing but strawberry fields. But yeah, today we're going to do 5 of each, percentage and number gained. And we're only looking at cities, not like small towns where if a family of 4 with grandma and her poodle Fifi in tow jumped the population by 30% because they bought an acre and a house. Got it? Get it? Good. Let's take a look. Number 5, New Braunfels, Texas. New Braunfels is a Texas city near San Antonio of about 85,000 people. It's about 30 minutes northeast of downtown San Antonio, and it's known for a lot of different things. It's got a couple rivers flowing right through town, including the Guadalupe River. They have incredible tubing on these rivers. It's pretty cool. They also have Schlitterbahn, which is one of the best water parks in the world. New Braunfels has been gaining popularity in the last handful of years, and it shows. Last year alone, in 2021, they grew by 8.3%. Number 4, Buckeye, Arizona. Buckeye, Arizona is in Maricopa County, Arizona, and it's part of the Phoenix metro area. And this place has been growing pretty fast for some time now. In 2020, they had 91,000 residents, and that's up from 50,000 in 2010. And in 2000, they only had 6,500 residents. So yeah, they're growing. They're growing at a good pace. Buckeye is about 45 minutes west of downtown Phoenix, and it's right in the middle of a bunch of farmland. I know what you're thinking farmland in Arizona? Well, they got a water source. The Gila River runs just south of town. In 2021, Buckeye grew by 8.6%. Number 3, Queen Creek, Arizona. Staying in the Phoenix metro area, we head to the other side of town at Queen Creek. In 2020, they had a population of almost 60,000, 59,519 to be exact, and that's up from 26,361 in 2010. This is another Phoenix suburb that's getting kind of popular. Queen Creek is about 45 minutes southeast of downtown Phoenix, just outside of Chandler and Gilbert, Arizona. And it's south of one of my favorite places, Apache Junction. If you watched Bad Santa, you'll know that he once loved a woman there that was unclean. If you've never seen Bad Santa, you won't get that. But Queen Creek, I'm sure, has wonderful women there, and that might be why their population grew by 8.9% in 2021. Number 2, Leander, Texas. Leander is in the Austin metro area, about 30 minutes north of downtown Austin. In 2010, it had a population of a little over 26,000 people. Then in 2020, they jumped up to 59,000. And it's not a bad place to live. I've seen nothing but good reviews about the place. Their stats look okay. Definitely an up-and-coming suburb or town, whatever you want to call it, city. But it's becoming more and more popular, and the numbers show that it is. In 2021, it grew by 10.1%. Now, 10.1% or even 5% is big over the course of 10 years when they do the normal census, but that's 1 year. All these are what they gained in 2021. Number 1, Georgetown, Texas. Have you guys started to see a pattern here? Texas is still very popular. The thing is, they're not just moving to Plano and the Dallas metro area anymore. They're spreading out. This is another one that is in the Austin metro area. Now, for years, last I'd say 2 or 3 years, people have been saying Austin is played out, and I think to a degree it is, but people are starting to look at places like Round Rock, Cedar Park, Leander, like we just talked about, instead of just going to Austin. And a lot of that has to do with people are working from home, not just full-time working from home. Sometimes they work 2 or 3 days at home and have to go into an office in a place like Austin. That's making some of these suburbs on the outskirts of any metro area a little more appealing. Georgetown sits about 45 minutes north of downtown Austin, and it's just to the east of Leander. Now, in the 2020 census, they didn't grow as much as some of the other places. They grew by 41%. They went up from 47,000 to about 67,000. But in 2021, they got a pretty serious boost. They jumped 10.5%. That is a lot for a suburb. All right, that's the first part of this video. Now we're moving on to the cities that just gained a whole bunch of people. Number 5, North Las Vegas. North Las Vegas is its own place. It is part of the Vegas metro area. You know, this place doesn't have the best stats. There's a lot better places to live in the Las Vegas metro area, but their housing is relatively affordable. It's actually 10% below the national average. In 2010, North Las Vegas had a population of about 216,000 residents. In 2020, that jumped up to 254,000. So they grew quite a bit over that decade. And in 2020 alone, they gained almost 10,000 people, 9,917 new residents. That's not going to slow down anytime soon. I mean, they're still building a ton of new homes out there. Number 4, Port St. Lucie, Florida. Port St. Lucie, Florida is pretty popular. I don't know how popular it's going to be after this week. They got hit pretty hard by Hurricane Ian. I just saw a news report about how their streets are flooded. There are places that got hit way worse, but they did have some serious flooding. But Port St. Lucie is a pretty popular place. It sits almost an hour north of West Palm Beach on the Atlantic side. Of West Palm Beach on the Atlantic side of Florida, right there on the ocean. And this is another Florida city that's been growing pretty good over the last couple decades. I mean, their first census they were around, they only had 330 people. Then in 1980, they had 14,000. 1990, they had 55,000. So this place is growing. 2000, they had 88,000. And 2010, they had 164,000. 2020, they cracked 200,000. So this place has been like a freight train when it comes to growth, and 2021 was no different. They gained 10,771 new residents, and they're still building new homes. Number 3, Fort Worth, Texas. Fort Worth, Texas is in the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area, so we finally made it back to the Dallas area with a place that's growing at a pretty good pace. Myself, I like Fort Worth probably better than any place in the Dallas metro area. I just love that town. In 2000, they had 534,000 residents. Then in 2010, they jumped up to 741,000. So that right there, they gained almost 40%. And that party bus kept rolling when they got to 2020. They had 918,000 residents. That's a 24% increase. In 2021, Fort Worth, Texas increased their population by 12,916 new residents. And only 4% of them say y'all right now. Number 2, Phoenix, Arizona. We have seen a lot of growth in the Phoenix metro area. They kind of had a lull. They were really big in the early 2000s to 2010. Then they kind of, they mellowed out a little bit, but they're picking up steam again. Phoenix is the most populated capital city in the United States. It's actually the capital of Arizona. They also have far more golf courses than should be allowed. I mean, this place has them everywhere. Last time I was there, I also noticed they had a whole bunch of tanning places. This is Phoenix. Do you really need a tanning place? Another thing they got too much of is violent crime. It's actually 106% above the national average. The good news is, a few years back, I think when they had that lull and new people moving in, well, they always had people moving in, but not at the pace that they have now, and back in the early 2000s, their crime rate and their violent crime rate was a little bit higher than it is right now. It's still pretty high, 106% above the national average. But Phoenix has been growing for decades. I mean, back in 1960, they grew by 311%. And then it was always like 32, 35%, 24, 34. And then that 2010 census, like I said, they dropped down below 10% for the first time since the place turned into a city. Then in 2020, it was only 11% higher. Now, that is a good percentage for a decade for a major city. That's not bad. But in 2010, it dropped below 10%. For the first time in over a century. In 2021, Phoenix grew by 13,224 people. All right, before we get to number 1, don't forget we have another channel called On This Day. There's a link down below. There's also a link for Home and Money, which is a great website if you're thinking about buying a house, if you're getting ready to, like you got to fix your credit, things like that. They got all kinds of resources there. This isn't a sponsored video. I just get asked all the time about real estate agents, so you got a link down below. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, San Antonio, Texas. This one does not surprise me. I was in San Antonio last January. I was gonna film all this cool stuff. I don't know if you saw the vlog for that one, but the river that runs through town, which is really cool, it's like a tourist attraction. I picked the week they decided to drain it and clean it out. But it is a beautiful city and I love it. And it appears people are starting to love it just as much as I do. San Antonio has been growing in double-digit percentage points since forever. I mean, since we had that dust up at the Alamo with the Mexican army. They've only had 2 census where they were under double-digit percentage points. That was 1940. They only grew by 9.6%. In 2020, they only gained 8.1%. But they're back on track in 2021. In 2021, San Antonio, Texas gained 13,626 new residents. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a productive day, and be nice to each other.